Welcome to our podcast. And by that, I mean on Wednesdays we read. I'm Hannah.
I'm Laura.
And we are two best friends who usually do a deep dive into a new book series, one book at a time. But right now we are on Intermission, and we are doing a whole month on 3 weeks on The Marked Princess by E.P. Stavs, the first in the Shendry series. And
get ready for us to mispronounce a bunch of this.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for all mispronunciations. We apologize to the author. We apologize to all the listeners who are tuning in.
We're going to interview the author, so maybe we can make sure that we get all of these names right. Because
maybe we interview her, then we do the character episode, and then without context, we're just dropping it like we know all of them. And then
we're like release these out of order.
But we can't wait to dive into it. But before that, Laura, what are you reading, watching, and or enjoying?
Okay, so I feel like I've read and watched a bunch of things, but at the moment I'm not recalling them. So I did listen to Ring Shout by P. Jelly Clark.
You said that you thought that might have been better in book form.
I do. And so I had gotten a recommendation from you and also from Fiction Fans because they did a whole episode on it. Mm-hmm. And so the audiobook was available on Scribd. So I was like, okay, I'm going to check this out. Here was my issue. I had to re-listen to the first 2 chapters because I was getting very confused by what was happening. That is why I think that it would have been better in paper form or e-form, ebook form. For me personally, it may have worked really well for other people in audiobook format, but I was getting a little confused by what was going on. But when I did a re-listen and really focused, then I was able to pick up on what was happening. And it's a creepy book and weird and also timely and well-written and creative. So I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads, but mainly it was just because I was getting confused myself. So it's more on me than it is on the book. So I think if I did an actual reread of it, I would do something that I can read with my eyes, because it would help me kind of put a little more semblance to the story, if that makes sense. And it would probably be a higher rating for me.
I will say that when I read it, I had to read the first 20 pages really slowly until you kind of get immersed in the novel. Sure. So I do think it's one that it's not I think a lot of people will pick it up and be like, ooh, 200 pages. I'll breeze through this. Sure. And I don't necessarily think it's that kind of book, because I think the first night I read it, I only read the first 20 pages. And then I had to put it down and then pick it back up the next day.
It's a 4-hour audiobook, but it took me 5 days to listen to it. So if that tells you anything, it's either Laura is a very bad listener or
or you're used to doing multiple things at once, honestly.
Yeah, I usually listen at work. So for me, listening to fantasy or a lot of things that have details is harder. Nonfiction is harder to listen to unless I'm able to just if I'm walking or something, where nothing is to go through my brain. It's easy to listen to something like this, but when I'm at work, it's harder. And I typically listen to memoirs, or I've recently been leaning into romances for that. So
those are
this
fun,
was
and they're
a little bit different.
Yeah, I get that.
I also read a book that I got on NetGalley, Pride and Puppies by Lizzie Shane. And it's based on Pride and Prejudice, obviously. And I thought it was a cute book. It's a friends to lovers romance. And basically a woman, Charlotte, a doctor, she is trying to find her own Mr. Darcy and failing after going for people that she thinks are Mr. Darcy, but are basically a bunch of jerks. And
a bunch of Wiccans.
Basically, they're a bunch of Wiccans.
Basically.
And she kind of realizes that she needs to go for someone more like the love interest in Emma. And she kind of ends up with her own Emma after, but this is after, not like her own Emma. What's the love interest
Mr.
in
Knightley.
Emma? Mr. Knightley. Thank you. My brain is not working tonight.
You're fine.
So she ends up with her own Mr. Knightley after a long process, because she swears off men at one point and decides she's going to get a puppy instead. So hence why it's called Pride and Puppies. But after she gets over all that and kind of works on herself a little bit, then she ends up with her own Mr. Knightley, realizing that she doesn't always have to have a Darcy. So it was a cute book. I liked it. It's definitely not one that I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna reread this. But there's
right.
others like in this same universe, I guess,
Right.
that Lizzie Shane has written. And I would probably pick another one up.
Oh, that's
I
good.
kind of like that like small town vibe that it's giving with the romance and everything. And there's no spice or anything in it. So if you don't want a book with any spice, you just want like kind of a fluff romance, I'd recommend it, but don't expect anything like super out there.
Don't expect
one of those
to be
things
spicy.
Yeah, don't expect anything spicy. Don't expect anything to be like, oh, this is like revolutionary. I think it's just like kind of a fun romance to read. But yeah, I'd recommend that. And I probably would pick up another one of her books within that universe.
Oh,
So I think they're kind of fun.
She also has a couple different puppy ones, I see.
Yeah.
Once Upon a
yeah.
Puppy. That's fun. To all the dogs
I never know
loved
like
before.
I never know like what to choose on NetGalley. So like I saw that one and I thought, oh, okay, I'll just try it. I got it. So
yeah, you got it. Yay.
My NetGalley requests are all over the board. Let me tell you, they're so random.
I like it.
It's fine.
I think that's fun. That's the best way to do NetGalley.
I mean, honestly, it is. But
yeah,
and I'm new to NetGalley, so it's like hard for me to figure out like what books I will get and that kind of things because I haven't requested too many.
Right.
So, and I'm still trying to like boost my percentage.
Yeah, I get that.
Because that is super important. If people see you have a low percentage, they're not going to send you books. So like right now I've requested several that I've gotten and I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to have to actually review some of these before I can request any more.
Mine always looks like where I'm at. Super impressive because it's like you've requested I've requested 35 or I've been approved for 47 and I have 35 feedback sent. So
nice.
I'm my NetGalley percentage is at 74%, guys. So I'm pretty good.
One thing that I noticed, well, I actually asked you about this and then I felt better that it actually happened, but like I was nervous that if you didn't review the books and send feedback before the date that they came out, that you wouldn't like get any recognition on your percentage, but luckily you do. So
yes, you did.
That made me feel better that it's like less of a time crunch to be like, oh, I gotta get this done by August 1st or whatever. So
I get that. I think that makes
that is helpful. I've watched so many things. So many things. I'm trying to even remember them all. I watched Meet Cute on Peacock. That has Kayla Coco and Pete Davidson. I don't know what I was expecting going into that. Maybe more of a rom-com. And honestly, I was kind of pleasantly surprised that it was more of a take on mental health and anxiety. And I was kind of surprised by that and kind of liked it, honestly.
Oh, nice.
It was not what I expected. Okay. Another show that surprised me was Wolf Like Me with Josh Gad and Isla Fisher. And that was another one that I was like, this is going to be like some weird werewolf show. It was also a werewolf show, but it was also a show that was more of a take on like mental health. And nice. I'm into it. People are trying some different things with their approaches with some of these new shows, and I kind of dig it. So that was one that I liked too.
Nice.
I have Peacock. So many other things. I've been watching a lot of Peacock. So yeah, I have some other things I watch too, but I'll save them for the next time because who knows if I'll watch anything between.
Fair. Sometimes you'll just read a ton.
Next time. Yeah, exactly. So Hannah, what have you been reading, watching?
So for reading, I have been reading lots of books for the podcast and then listening to many books. So I went through, I'm not going to talk about it, but like I did the Roshani Chashki, the Gilded Wolves trilogy on audiobook. And those are books, they exist and they're fun to listen to. I think I've mentioned it before. They're not my favorite, but they have good representation and I didn't need to pay attention.
That's always nice.
Yeah, it was, I mean, like there were wild storylines, but like if you dip in and out, you're like, oh, I guess that they're at another ball. Sure. And all of a sudden I would be like, how'd they get to this puzzle? And I'm like, well, I'm not rewinding to find out. And then I would just like continue on. But it's cute. It has like fun representation for YA books. It like talks about things that like I think teenagers would be like chill with, like learning about, like polyamory and all that stuff. So like in an appropriate way. So, that was good. I also listened to Jasmine Ward's Salvage the Bones. I read
Sing I'm Buried Sing by Jasmine, so
Yeah, that's on my to be read, but this one is about a girl who is, I believe, 14 during this book, and it's during the lead up of Hurricane Katrina. It's her family, and her brother's dog just had puppies, and it's like a very like visceral book. It's not too big. Jessamine Ward's, both of her books are not that big from what I've seen.
They're pretty short.
They're pretty short, but they pack a punch. Like you're dealing with a lot of stuff in Salvage the Bones. You're kind of dealing with like lower income community and like rural areas, I believe in New Orleans, and like her brother, just like his dog just had a litter, and like he's having issues with people in the neighborhood like wanting to take some of the puppies early, or if the puppies are going to die, and like the brother is like living for the dogs right now while the rest of the family is trying to prepare for the storm, and it's kind of like coming to terms with all this stuff. And like their dad like drinks a lot, and there's just like a lot of stuff going on and a very short little like piece of their world, which is stuff I really like. And usually I like to read these types of books, but I will say that listening to it, like I had a couple of car rides where I actually got to sit and listen, and like this was a book where if I missed something I rewound it, which happened once when I was walking my dog. But I really thought it was beautiful writing. I thought it like really put you in the element of that world, and I thought it was wonderful, and people should read more books like that, because it was just, it has like, you know, all the feelings of a classic novel, like that just feels timeless and discusses like an important time in America that we don't always talk about. So, you know,
I'd say if you like that one, you should definitely check out Sing Unburied Sing, because from what you said there, I'm getting a lot of like similarities between the two. So
I think Jessamine Ward is like a very skilled author from what I know.
Oh yeah,
so
for sure.
That was good. And then it's spooky season, and I went back to Laura's favorite author of A Few Missing Girls.
Oh my gosh.
I listened to the audiobook Last to Vanish by Megan Miranda. And it was better than All the Missing Girls, which is 2.
I'm rolling my eyes, listeners.
I told my old roommate about Laura's rant about like, it was not all the missing girls. It was 2. It was a few. Like it was less than a few. So I thought this book was much better. Like this one is much less like, it's still like every mystery of like the thriller genre Gone Girl people has to have like the most basic ass woman come to a town and be like, not like the other people. And it's like, what does she do with her free time?
Exactly like the past 5 books we've read.
You're just exactly like every single book I read. And what do you do in your free time? Like, I always want to ask these women, like, they're always like, oh, I'm a great reader. And I'm like, but are you? Because like, you don't talk about anything
they don't
to
have
do with
time
books.
to read because people are always chasing them.
And they're always trying to hunt down a mystery, and they're always just throwing
they're
things
always
everywhere.
Usually journalists of some sort.
Well, this girl like came to the town, and she is like the niece of this person who runs an inn. And I did appreciate like it is part of like the Appalachian Mountains, but it's like, yeah, we're part of it where it's like hipster scene where lots of people come to this town to like go hiking. And so like people keep coming to think like, oh, these backwoods people. And it's like, we're surrounded by like REIs. Like, no, you guys are stupid. And I'm like, I do appreciate making fun of people who expect something different of a place. Like that is
Patagonia, like right over there.
Like there's a Patagonia
outlet mall.
And like they're like, yeah, we are a small town, but like there are craft breweries everywhere around us. Like, calm down. And so it's a whole
cat
thing.
Cafe over there. Obviously, we're in the middle of nowhere.
And so, like, yes, they are small town, quote unquote, but it's like, no, it's not that big of a deal. Like, we're still like in a very hip area, you know. And that kind of small town representation, I'm like, that's a realistic thing.
Give me a Casey's General Store and a town with mostly bars, and I will believe you're in a small town.
My 10 houses and a rundown school and a church was like the town closest to me. So I once went into the bar near the church, and like the people there did not know me, and they were like, are you from around here? Like I have gotten, are you from around here before in our tiny town? So like, that's what we're talking about. But I do love that, like, she kind of made fun of the people who came into that town. But like years ago, these 4 men were on a hiking trip and they all disappeared. And like about like 10 to 15 years later, another girl disappeared, and then another, and then this journalist disappeared. So it's like a relatively small town with many people who went missing. And so like someone comes to town looking for his brother, and like a lot of things get upset, a lot of mysteries like go, solved because this guy went missing like 10 months ago or something. And it was really good. I enjoyed it. I thought it was better than A Few Missing Girls. A couple missing girls, as Laura calls it. Two missing girls, and a bad ending. I mean, it's still like Megan Miranda still like forces random like shock value things, but overall it's not too bad.
I still have not gotten back on the thriller train just because I had so many letdowns.
I've been doing thrillers via audiobook because like I don't care. Like I can do dishes, I can wash, I can clean the house. It's easy to zone out to them. Yeah. And like I don't really care. And it's just like I think thrillers, and you can kind of again, like with the Lucy
the predictability Foley, of it is nice.
And Lucy Foley, like with her stuff, I'm like, oh, it's kind of like a radio play. So I feel like if you can like get into the mindset of radio plays, I just started one by Geneva Rose because I'm obsessed with her TikToks called The Perfect Marriage. But I will say, like, I'm listening to that one, and that one is funny to me because the female narrator tries to like have a male voice. Like he talks to me like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, I can't take that seriously.
Sometimes when they do it, when they do that, it's okay. Other times when they do that, it's like, no, please never do that again. The same goes for like the opposite. If it's a man trying to do a woman voice, I'm like, no, I don't appreciate when you're like,
and like she said to me like blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, what the hell? Like, yeah,
like,
I don't
who sounds like that. Only Minnie Mouse. Like, no.
So yeah, I will say that like I think it mellowed out after the first chapter, but she did it a couple times in the first chapter, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, someone get an editor on this, come on. So spooky season, I'm just doing stupid mysteries, but then for watching, I watched the Hulu original movie Rosalind, which is about Rosalind from Romeo and Juliet, who was originally in love with Romeo. And it's kind of about like, because she was Juliet's cousin in the play. And so it's kind of about this like, oh, this like very progressive girl who like is in love with this boy. And then all of a sudden her cousin comes to town and he's like obsessed with the cousin. Yeah. And it's about her story and like her trying to kind of ruin their relationship. And it's very funny because like Romeo and Juliet sounds so stupid. It doesn't even make sense. And like, it is very quirky, but in a good way. Like, it is like period piece like outfits a lot of the time, but they do modern speaking, which I actually think is an effective way to teach like Gen Z about Romeo and Juliet.
Sure.
And it is like, it does point out that these are children doing these things. So you do feel bad for them and you do find them ridiculous. I will say that Dario, one of the characters who's brought in is Dario. He's played by Sean Teal. His waist was so skinny. I had like a conversation with like the person I was watching it with where like he finally took his shirt off and I was like, oh, I was interested to see because like his waist is so tiny. And I was like, he looks like not well. And it made me think about the like, well, not well, like he looks like quote unquote amazing, but it made me think about the conversations we had around, spoiler alert, and all the feels where it's like, I don't think we're talking enough about how we make men look in these movies.
Sure.
And sometimes they just, because his waist is so tiny, Laura, like it was distracting with his clothes. Like it was just like, there was no fat on his waist at all.
Interesting.
So I thought that was really interesting.
I'm trying to like find a picture now on
let me see if I can
Google Images, and it's
I'm sure if you like put in
like mostly pictures.
Oh, I don't like that.
Oh, I don't like that.
No. It wasn't that, but like because like there were a couple of times where it's hard because like his arms usually covering him, but I'm just very much like his waist is just so tiny. That's my opinion anyway.
Said it was Dario?
Yeah, Dario. And he's a very good looking gentleman, but like not an ounce of fat on him.
I am unable to confirm. I'll just have to watch it.
You'll have to watch it, but it was a fun movie. I thought it was cute and quirky. And I also, Laura, I finished What We Do in the Shadows finally.
Yay! It is so good. The season was
so
great.
good. I love Colin Robinson so much.
Okay. way to go for that actor. Like that was a lot for him to do, honestly, this season. He was pulling out all the stops, and total spoilers, but it's been out a while, so I don't care. He had to act like all these different age groups, which is really difficult. So good on him for doing a really great job. Him as like little baby Colin Robinson, like the middle
they
grade
kept calling
age.
him baby Colin Robinson hilarious. When he was like, oh my gosh. I also just like adored, like they did it so well. Colin Robinson. They did so well at showing like different ages, because like when they're in the car going to the hunting grounds and he's like, what are you doing back there, little guy? And they're both like, oh, like, why did you ask? And he's like, it's fascinating. I have this iPad game. And it's just like adults with children is so funny.
It's so great when he was like obsessed with Legos too. He's like, hey Leslie, guess what? So, and then he would be like, this is the last question. Like, what is this an actual question? And he would get so mad at him. And then he'd be like, yeah, it's an actual question. And then he's like, okay, what? And he'd be like, so I was playing this game. And the thing was with this game, like you have to get past the first level in order to do this. And then, or he'd talk about his Legos or whatever and be like, I actually like the Lego that you did for this. And what I really like is if instead of making Star Wars dioramas, they could make musical theater ones. Like I revamped this too. And he's like boring the heck out of Laszlo. And it's the greatest thing ever, because that's exactly how little kids are sometimes when they're like really into something. And it was so well done.
Oh, it's so funny. I loved it so much. I died. Yeah, so I watched that. I also loved when he was like running up to the random like vampire children and he was like, do you guys like YouTube? And they're like, we are adults. We're just in children's bodies. Like, it's so funny.
I love how they get him in sports. Just
oh my God. And oh geez,
his energy, he's in all the sports,
and then they're like, this is how we're gonna get him into college. And Karen was like, that's not how it works.
But when they tried to get him into that school with all the interviews, that was great.
He had a massive heart attack. You're only supposed to do it like 8 times in a month.
We're not diverse enough. We have to redo it.
Oh my gosh. Gay is out, or gay is in, gay is hip. And then I liked the cliffhanger they left you off on. So
yeah,
very excited for the next season.
I do kind of wish they would have stretched out Colin's story a little more than this, but I get it. It's probably a lot for them to try and like do all of this, like, well, I don't know, CGI, I guess, to like put his face on another actor and everything. So I get that that's expensive and everything, but I kind of wish they would have stretched it out a little more because it was so funny.
Well, and I did wonder, like, this is spoilery, but I kind of question if maybe you're going to find out that like Colin Robinson was sent to like kill them originally.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because like it just seems weird that like he has that hidden area just to like relearn about himself. Like it seems like there has to be something a little bit more sinister in that.
We still don't like have all these questions answered about him though, because like they don't know how he was created. At one point in like earlier seasons, he's like, "Hi, Grandma," and it's like, how does he have a grandma? She's just like, "Hi, Colin," and it's like, what the heck? Why does he have a grandma?
So funny. I know. So yeah, I can't wait to kind of finish that off and keep watching that. I love it so much.
It's a great show.
With that said, should we dive in?
Let's do it.
Okay. So The Marked Princess by E.B. Stavs. This is a YA romance fantasy series, yes. And it starts with Princess Jocelyn Deleu, who is the crown princess and the future queen of Eldor, and she is up a tree with her BFF, Edmund
literally
Brent.
Up a tree.
She is literally up a tree.
That is not a metaphor. She is literally up a tree.
And she's up there with Sir Edmund of Bridgewater, who's her BFFFF, who she calls Sir Eddie. And they're just like messing around. They're 17. They're getting into trouble. And then all of a sudden, her personal guard, Alex Gray, comes up. And he is tall, dark, and handsome, obviously. And he is like, you need to come into the castle, Jocelyn. Lady Meridel, her aunt, wants to see her. And so she climbs down. Edmund and Alex seem to have some animus towards one another. We find out that
they're not on the best terms. It doesn't seem like they're kind of a little bit of a rival.
Yes. And they're pretty open about it.
Yeah.
They're not
it's one
hiding
of those
it.
deals where like it's hard to say like the vibes that I got from these two like right off the bat, but I was like, at first I was like, oh, I guess we like Edmund, and then a little bit into it I'm like, maybe we don't like Edmund.
Maybe Edmund is racist. I don't know.
Like, I don't know if I like Edmund anymore.
But we find out that like and this is where it's like, it's very interesting because Edmund immediately is like, Alex is like, oh, you stupid little like spoiled brat. And he's like, you Kalo orphan. And we find out that Alex is Kalo, which is a certain ethnicity. And like his people are like travelers. They're, they
travel like caravans.
Yes, they travel in caravans, similar to the Tinkers of Edmund's Field. But
like Wheel of Time.
It's just like a really broad brush for Edmund to be like, oh, you Kalo orphan. And I'm like, that feels very, very specific, Edmund. You really came in hot for him.
Yeah. We soon learn why there is this animosity between them. So keep going. Let's get there.
And so Jocelyn like wants to go sparring with Edmund tomorrow. We find out that she is kind of a trained warrior. And she has trained with all the other like lords of the castle. And she is kind of almost a tomboy, but she has lost her mom many years ago. And her aunt is usually the person who takes over and making sure she's wearing her official gowns and looking respectable. And we also find out that Antoski Prince Stefan, who is second in line for the crown, is coming to negotiate a treaty with them that day for peace at the border, because there's some animosity between the Antoski and the Eldorians, which is where Jocelyn's people are.
Yeah, and Jocelyn's like just of the right age that they're like, oh, well, I don't have to worry about getting you married.
Yeah, we find out that we find out that there's a rule that once you turn 18 and you are royalty, you have to be betrothed that night. It is literally that night. That night. It has to happen by the stroke of midnight, or else dishonor on you, dishonor on your cow. So we gotta like learn that. We also learn that Jocelyn has this mark on her arm that she calls a birthmark that looks like claw marks on her the back of her arm. And she says that her mother always said that it was special and it made her little wildcat. And Lady Meridel is like, well, my sister was always blinded by a mother's love.
Yeah. Lady Meridel is rude.
I thought she was gonna be evil, and I was shocked when we found out she was not. I'm like, Lady Meridel is
not evil.
She's
just rude.
I'm not evil. I'm just rude. And so we also find out that Lady Meridel is rude to Alex too. Everybody be rude to Alex.
Everyone is rude to him. And it's unfortunate. So like his backstory basically is that he was an orphan and the king took him in, and he was raised alongside all of these other people, kind of like a ward. But obviously they don't treat him very well. They all really look down on him and are very crappy to him.
Yes. But Jocelyn is very fond of Alex and always treats him, like everyone else, as you should. And she gets dressed for the day, and she says that, don't worry, Mama, no one is ever going to keep this wild cat in a cage. That's a promise. And so then she she goes to go meet the prince. Alex is kind of joking with her, and they all sit down, and we meet her father, King Frederick of Eldor, with Lord Burgundy, his chief advisor, and General Weston, the head of his army. And they all say hello to each other, and they get ready for the prince arrival. And the prince like walks in. He's kind of a blowhard. He's like winking and like nudging and like trying to talk over Jocelyn, because you learn that like the king allows Jocelyn to sit at the table. Like women have a right to sit at the table. Women have a right to be heard in this kingdom. Even though they still have to get married the second they turn 18.
I mean, we can't win them all, Hannah.
It's a progress, Hannah. Progress needs to progress. But anyway,
it's a baby step.
Stefan like keeps like ignoring her, and Jocelyn's like, what the F? Like, come on, you've got to be kidding. I love it when she's like, you've got to be kidding me. And Stefan like proposes to her, and he's like, this is pretty much what we want to do to have peace in the land. And it's like, that's totally how a peace treaty works.
Like, oh gosh. And he's just terrible. So
and so yeah,
Jocelyn, we don't want that to happen as readers.
Right. And Jocelyn is like, well, no, I'm not going to marry you. You seem like you're the worst. And like, I can't marry an Tusky because like, I am going to be the leader of the Eldurian throne, and that would be inappropriate. And
like, I probably am going to marry somebody from around here.
Yeah. Like it kind of has to be from someone around here. I'm sorry. And the king is like, well, then he like ignores her, and he's like, so what do you say, king? Can I marry her? And the king is like, didn't you just hear?
Did you not hear what you just said, you idiot?
Is she not speaking English to you? And so then he's like, okay, well then maybe we can figure something out. And then he winks his little eyes and does that weird maniacal thing with his fingers. He doesn't actually do that, but he might as well.
You picture it.
Yes. And he's like thinking he's flirting with her, but he's really just being a predator.
Yeah, he's literally that person that's like, oh yeah, I'm so good with women, and it's like you creep every woman out.
And Jocelyn later is like talking to Edmund, and she's like, oh my god, he's just the worst, and they're sparring, and he's like not very good at it. And she's like, you need to keep up, you need to like spar with me. And she finds out that like, you find out that Alex has never sparred with her, even though she's like dying to go up against him.
Like once he became her guard, he stopped fighting with her, and like his total attitude changed towards her.
And he used to call her Jocelyn, and now he only calls her Your Highness. And he like, it's like the whole like, I have really the duty formal. Of your knight, and so I have boundaries. And it's like, wow, we need, I mean, like I understand that sometimes that is harmful in a romance, but in the real world where I'm reading books where people be sleeping with their clients all the time, it's like, well, that's inappropriate. You're not allowed to do that.
Like, we need to have boundaries.
We also
especially in the workplace.
We do find out that Jocelyn also likes dancing, so she's she can do both. And Edmund like gives her a gift, and he like looks deeply into her eyes, and she was like, that was weird.
And there's this moment where she's like, does he like me? It's strange. And it's like, yeah, he gave you a crappy gift, of course he likes you.
It was just so funny where she was like, he looked deeply into my eyes, and I was like, this is uncomfortable. And she tells him she'll save a dance for him. They had was he the one who gave her a dagger? Was that what he gave her? Okay, so. He gives her a dagger with a green emerald on it. And she heads back up to her tower room, and she like walks by the prince, and he doesn't recognize her because she's dressed like a peasant. And then he's like, well, you should like come take a walk with me, and like I like you glistening in sweat. And it's like, ew, that's disgusting.
Never say that again.
And Alex is like pissed off because he's like, you've got to be kidding me. And he refuses to like leave him alone with her.
Alex is always like hovering like 5 feet away.
Right. And so she like calls Alex her rock, and you can tell that she has some feelings toward Alex, and like he's like the one person she wished liked her, and not Edmund, who's giving her gifts and looking deeply into her eyes.
I mean, I feel like the vibe that I get from her is that she doesn't like dislike Edmund, but it's definitely one of those things where she's like so caught off guard, like, oh, you like me that way. I am in too deep now.
It's definitely like that friendship thing where all of a sudden she's on a date with him, and she's like, how did this happen? And like, trust me,
like, wait,
I've been there, girl, and I'm so sorry. And so like she meets with Lady Meridell and they like go over all of the suitors she could possibly marry.
And one of them's like Lord Burgundy, which I was like, ew, he's your dad's friend.
Well, and she's like, he's old. Are you kidding me? Like,
I had the same feeling, Jocelyn.
And she finds out that Edmund's on the list and
that he's appropriate.
I know. And she's like mad because he's appropriate, but people like don't think Alex is appropriate. And it talks about
she's like thinking, she's like, well, this is where we get the big reveal that she's like, there's one person that I've always kind of thought I would like, Alex.
Oh my God. And then we find out that when she was 13, she started training with General Weston and all the boys, and Alex stood up to the boys who were trying to make fun of her for wanting to train with them, because again, this is progressive, but it's not too progressive. So
not
they still hate women soldiers. But women do get to speak fully at the table. It's a progression, Hannah. And Alex gets into a fight with one of the like noblemen boys because he's like bitch talking Jocelyn, and she thanks him later and he's like, it's nothing, like you'll be great. And he's like supportive, and we love a supportive king. So he comes in and he's like, well, you have to go like see that prince, and she's like, ugh, gross, I hate that. I have to do this for Eldor because we want peace. And she like
duty sucks.
She takes a drink of something, and Alex is like, dude, like, have you ever had something that bad before? And she's like, no, but I'm ready now. I needed alcohol to deal with this man. And it's like, I've also been there, girl. And she goes for a walk with Prince Stefan, and he's kind of the worst. And he just like has no foreplay or like build up whatsoever. He's just like, so you sure you don't want to be married? And she's like, yeah, I'm sure.
His creepiness and like forwardness is like very, very off-putting. Like you know right away, like, okay, something is definitely up here.
I know. And then he gets her like this necklace, and at first she's like, oh, that's really big and really like, wow, you really shouldn't have. And then she's like, ooh, but it's pretty. And then she puts it on.
She's like weirdly drawn to it.
I know. And it's like, honey, this is all the red flags are shooting off. And so she puts the necklace on, and he's like whispering sweet grossness into her ear. And he asks her to marry him, and she almost says yes. And then she hears a voice in her head saying, take it off now. And she's like, what am I doing? And she like rips it off, and she's like, thanks, but I can't accept this or your offer. And he's shocked by this. And she walks away, and Alex is like glaring at him and like really suspicious.
And Prince Stefan's sitting there like, oh crap, she's probably going to marry Lord Burgundy.
He's the only other available suitor.
When he was mentioned, I just could not let it go. That was like the only suitor that like stuck out in my mind. And at first I was like, crap, is this what is going to happen? The options are going to be Lord Burgundy or Stefan. I was like, please, no.
Equally bad options.
Yes.
And she is kind of like, what just happened? I can't believe I almost just said yes to that guy. That was so weird. And it's like, honey, read the room. Like, that's not just something that happens to you. Like, you didn't get caught up in the moment. Like, come on, call him out. But she's kind of like, I just need to get him out of here, out of my life. This is so weird. And then we cut to later on in the night, and Stefan goes out, and he's like, the necklace didn't work. That's so stupid. It was a piece of junk. And like this mysterious person who I thought was her aunt, and then later on found out it wasn't. It was
not the aunt, in fact.
And he's like, well, the princess is a stubborn mule. And he's like, well, we'll have to force her hand. And he says that the father wants this done as soon as possible. A physical attack on Eldon is not like worthwhile. They can't do this. And you find out Stefan is like, well, if we murder them all, they can't say no. Like,
it's like, okay, that's drastic.
He is a tyrant where they're like, hey, let's try to use like some underhandedness and, you know, taking away someone's consent to marry you. But like, you can't just murder people.
A little bit easier than murdering everyone, I guess.
And he's just kind of like getting sick of it. And they're like, well,
he has no patience.
I know. And they're
trust the process, Stefan. Trust the process.
I know. And we do find out that this is a man, and it's like, well, if a little bloodshed is needed, but like you need to stop this girl training among men is ridiculous, and she'll be the ruin of them all. But with him as her husband, she'll soon learn to keep her mouth shut. And he's like, oh, and I'll enjoy every minute of it. And I'm like, for a YA fantasy romance, like that is some like very specific threats about this girl.
Yeah. Ew.
Yeah, it's just icky. And so the next day, she wakes up and she's like, and Jocelyn's having a hard time getting ready. She's just kind of like a little bit bummed that she has to get married soon. And like, you know, thinking about the night's ball. And so Alex comes in and he says that she has to go to the royal meeting room to like talk about everything. And so she goes to see her dad. And they find out that there was also a messenger that arrived earlier that day. And they find out that there was a huge, like, there was like an ambush on one of the cities. And one of the lords got there and they were like, that's weird. We just came from that city and we didn't hear anything bad before that. But like now there's something bad. And could we take some army people away from the city and go take care of it? And the king was like, yeah, this doesn't sound suspicious. And one of the lords, I love this part where he brought his son and they're like, one of the cities is being attacked. It's your home city. And he's like,
Lord Dayton.
Yeah. Lord Dayton is like, okay, we'll go. But like, my son can stay here. And they're like, well, shouldn't he go with you? And he's like, well, he's just really excited about the ball.
I think what was happening is he kind of wanted him to be like considered as a suitor, yes, but the way that it's presented like that is funny, where it's like he's really excited. He loves to dance. He can't miss a dance.
And like he can escort his sister and mother, and like it's really important to say. And it is because they want him to be a suitor, because again, she has to pick someone on her 18th birthday. And so they all like leave with
this is the one night we all have a chance.
And if one of you is sick with the flu, too bad. You've only got
you missed your shot.
Do not miss your chance to go. This opportunity comes literally once in a lifetime, unless you're Lord Burgundy, and then it comes twice.
Unless you're Lord Burgundy, then your name's kind of thrown around a lot.
And so they all leave, and General Weston goes to protect the city. And then the Lord is like, well, I am excited about dancing, so maybe we could dance later. And it's like, your hometown is under siege, but I'm glad you get this opportunity. And so then Jocelyn is ready for the night. She goes down to the ball, and she's thinking about like how it is her duty to pick a husband, and she is going to do it because she loves, she wants to be a queen, and she wants to do what is right. And I guess it doesn't have to be that night, because her dad does say like, oh, tomorrow we'll have lots of proposals.
Like, I think it's one of those deals where it's like she's kind of presented to everyone.
You come out.
So that's her presentation. And then it's kind of an opportunity for guys that she doesn't really know as well to be like, hey, I'm an option for you. Would you like to dance? So this is maybe more of an opportunity for her to meet people and be like, here's some of my suitors that I can choose from.
It's like a reverse Cinderella where she gets to decide if a slipper fits, which I'm here for. Go, Jocelyn, make them wear high heels. And so they all come in, and Jocelyn's like, well, at least I can get over dancing with Prince Stefan, just dance with him twice. And Sir Edmund comes over, and he is dancing with her, and she finds out that Alex asked for reassignment once she gets engaged, and she's really hurt by this. And Edmund's like, are you still pining after that guard, because like you were in love with him as well as like every other girl? And she's like, no. And he's like, well, you're lying. Like, you were in love with him. Are you still in love with him? And he's like, everyone knew. And she's like, everyone?
He's like, everyone knew that you were in love with him.
And he's like, well, it's endearing, but like, yeah, it's past now, right? And she is kind of like, well, I had a certain degree of fondness for him, but like, it's long past. He never felt that way about me, you know? And so like, then Edmund says like, hey, he doesn't deserve you. And like, I would like to make you really happy, and I can guarantee I'll make you really happy, and like, please marry me. And she tells him like, I haven't felt anything for you other than friendship. And he's like, well, I want to change that. And he's like, I think
she like calls him out too. She's like, I think you just want to be king.
I know.
Like, I don't think you really like me. I think you just want to be king. He's like, well, a little bit.
Yeah. And he's like, but like, that's not the only reason I'm proposing to you. We are good friends. I think we would like do well. And I've admired you. Like, I think it's great, you know, that you are willing to be determined and strong. And she like really hesitates. She really thinks about it. And she realizes that Alex doesn't want to marry her, and she has to marry anyway. So it might be good to marry a good friend. And so she says,
at least I can marry a friend.
Yep. And she says yes. And he's very happy. And he's like celebrating, and he runs to go tell her father. And she's like a little bit heartbroken, and she like doesn't want to hurt Alex, but then she's like, it doesn't matter. Like, you have to think about Edmund now. He's your fiance. You have to move past this. And so he tells her father agrees, and he announces that they are engaged. And immediately, with like the force like of 10 steps, like or Prince Stefan walks up, and he's like,
oh, how wonderful. Let's all drink.
This is great. Let's all drink. Here you go, sir. Here's your goblet.
Here's a drink that I especially made for you. And you're like, no.
And there's no
Somebody
poison in it.
slap that out of his hand.
And even Jocelyn is like, she and her dad are both like, how dare you just hand him a drink? That's so rude. And the dad tells their engagement, and he takes a drink. And then, unfortunately, her father falls, and Jocelyn runs after him, and she finds out that he is dead.
He'd been poisoned by Stefan.
Evil Stefan, who was twiddling his thumbs and laughing maniacally. And everyone like gets grabbed. Edmund is like restrained, and Prince Stefan is like, escort my bride to her chambers unharmed, like, and throw Prince Edmund or Sir Edmund into the dungeons because he took something from me that I think is mine, even though it's not mine.
Yeah.
I know. And
then he says like, a bunch of gross things like, I like women with fire. And it's like, ew.
It's so gross and so
never say that again.
Icky. I know. And Edmund like goes to try to stop Stefan, but they like knock him out. And one of the men start taking her away to her rooms. And earlier she did put on the dagger that Edmund had given her. So I do love this, where she was like, well, my father just died, and I am very sad and hurt and upset. So I can just vomit here right now. Yeah. And she like vomits on the ground. The guy like pushes her away, and she grabs the dagger and stabs him. And so then she flees down to the kitchens, and she is warned by the kitchen staff that the courtyard is crawling with Entuski soldiers, and there's no other way out. And so she goes to like hide and try to get her way through the stable yard. And then someone grabs her, and she is about to attack them, and she finds out that it is Alex. And she breaks down, and she doesn't know what to do. And she is crying because her father died just in front of her eyes, and they need to get out. So we kind of switch over to Alex's POV. He's like trying to stay calm. He's trying to get Jocelyn out of there. And she realizes that there is a hidden tunnel in the mausoleum that leads out to the northern forest. So they run over to that, go inside there. Like, this was a hidden way to get out. So there are like lamp lights and everything to get them. And they keep moving rather quickly. Jocelyn is still reeling from the death of her father, of course, off and on throughout the novel. And she's kind of like, thank goodness I remember the way out. And they were thinking about going south to Devon to meet with General Weston, but it's going to be too tricky because they're on foot and they probably can't catch up with him. And so they decide to go east to a village and see if they can get mounts and then go south. So they head out into the northern forest, and they're immediately stopped by like brigands. And she has ripped off her dress to make sure she can move much more easily. Right. And Alex is very distracted by the skin on her knees, obviously.
Her shapely thighs.
I know, but I like it better when it's knees.
I think it's funny too that it's like she has to tear off her. I don't know how tight this skirt is, but I was picturing not a tight skirt. And so it was funny to me that it was like, I need to tear off this skirt. So it's like a mini skirt. And I was like, was that necessary? Because
now you're just scraping up your legs.
I was thinking, I don't know. I feel like a lot of times skirts have kind of a lot of room to move around, but what do I know? I don't know about the cut of this skirt.
Her calves and her shapely knees were very distracting though. And so they start moving through and they're stopped by brigands and like she does ask about Edmund. He's like, no, I think he was just knocked out. She asks if he did request a new position and he said it's true. And it's kind of like he couldn't, in his own head, he's like, he can't stand to watch her marry someone else. And he like goes to talk to her, but then the brigands come and he's like, run, scatter, Jocelyn. And she starts to
they always do scatter.
Scatter.
Hannah loves a good scatter.
I love a good scatter. I think it's the funniest thing to imagine in a book. Just people screaming out like scatter.
It's just funny though, because I think in every single book we've covered, you have said scatter.
It's like an image that I can't get out of my head. It's just people like anytime they're like run, I think it's funnier to be like scatter because like it's always like someone like thrashing away, you know, like it's never it's never as clean as you.
Funny.
So he's like, I have to take down all these men, and he starts like trying to fight out, and then we switch over to Jocelyn. She hears someone coming after her. She has her dagger with her, and this guy is like really gross. All these men keep threatening her body. I don't like it. Her father just died. And she's kind of like, I'm a warrior, but I feel so weak. She's trying to fight him off. And she leaps on top of him and she hits him between his shoulders again and again. And it's like, wow, that is, you know. And then she hears like, he's dead, leave him, you have other concerns. And she's like, I trust this voice in my head, so I will go back to Alex. And she feels like fire spreading throughout her body. She runs back to him and she sees Alex getting stabbed in the shoulder. She screams and she feels her chest being ripped open, and dark shadows pouring out and melt into the form of a solid shape as they race toward Alex's assailant. And she sees, and it's like a black cat with sharp claws. The men fall back in terror, but the beast springs and like kills them all. And then Jocelyn passes out. Alex is like on the verge of passing out, and he is shocked. He can't believe what he just saw. And he runs over to Jocelyn and he's like, you need to wake up, come on. And she's not waking up. She's purely passed out. So he takes her through the forest and he's like, I'm gonna bleed to death. Like I need to do. Also, it's like we have to stop running into any more of Prince Stefan's mercenaries. And I'm like, how did you know they were his mercenaries? These seems like general mercenaries.
I mean, they could have been anybody, really.
Right? I was like, how did we know they were Prince Stefan's? That's very presumptuous of you, Alex. Like, they could have just been relatively bad guys. They don't have to be hired goons. But anyway, he keeps walking. He's trying to get to the next town on the eastern road, and he's trying to hide. And he like is really worried about how unconscious she is. And then he like wondered why he let her go in the first place. And then we find out 2 years ago, he like runs into Jocelyn. She's like so happy, or they're hanging out together. And he's so in love with her. And she says she like wants to talk to him soon. She wants to like play bouts with him. And he's like, yeah, totally, I'll do that with you. And she's so excited. And then he gets a call from the king, and the king is like, hey, I want you to be her guard, and like I want you to protect her. You are the best soldier ever. And
but definitely only for job reasons. You are not to ever become her lover.
You are not to become her lover. You are like I am underlying racist, and I can't let an orphan Kalo boy like from nowhere be her husband or her lover. People will talk like
you have no status. You will not be her lover.
And he's like, okay. And so the next day he's like, she's lost to me. I must treat her like she is Her Royal Highness, because that is all she is to me. And then he's like going in and out. He needs to get down. And he's like pulling her with him. And then I love a person who is there for women, because all of a sudden someone's like, what are you doing to that girl? Get off her. I will kill you. And I'm like, I appreciate that someone's immediate reaction was like, get off her. I don't know what you're doing, but I don't like it.
I mean, we appreciate somebody who is there for other women.
I love an ally. So he is like, no, I like, he doesn't even have a chance to be like, I don't, like, I'm not doing anything wrong, I promise. But he is like bleeding profusely. A guy comes and like helps him back to this camp. And he's like, where's Jocelyn? And they're like, don't worry, my eldest daughter's watching over her. I gotta take you back to this camp. You're bleeding. I need to stop it. And so
Alex is, I think he's kind of like coming in and out of it, basically.
Yes. And he is like, he gets led back to this camp. There are a bunch of girls there. And he says that Dahlia is with the girl. And they need to awake Violet and Rosemary. And they clean up the blood. They stitch him up. And he notices that one of them is like very pale with golden blonde hair and blue eyes, while the other girls have like darker features. And the girl with golden hair named Lily sews him up. And the women come in and they're kind of like, bribing each other and like, and they're like, well, you have to explain what's happening, sir. You're like, you have to explain why you're out there with a gaping womb and a half-dressed unconscious woman. And it's like, fair point.
Yeah, we do need some answers here.
And then Rose is like, well, I don't know, his body's pretty nice. And they're like, really? He is covered in blood, Rose. Like, impure Rose. Like, what was the golden girl who like flirted with everyone? Blanche. Yeah, pure Blanche fashion. It's like, well, he's nice.
Blanche Devereaux.
Yes. And he's just kind of like in and out. And he like rests a little bit. And he's like, we can't stay here. It's too dangerous. And they're like, why? I love that, like, he's going in and out, and he's like, listen, this is the crown princess, Jocelyn Delare of Eldor. I'm her guard. We're in very big trouble. We're like, her father was murdered. It's like, you are very coherent, and I'm here for it, Alex, but I'm very impressed. And so he's like, Prince Stefan is after us. We got to get out of here. And they're like, well, you're not getting too far on foot. And he's like, I know, but like, will you guys take us? And the man is like, all right, it's a lot to ask, but I'll do it.
He's like, wow, I don't think so, but yep, we're doing it.
Yep, we're doing it. And he also says that he is like Kalo, and he's like, yeah, I was raised by the guards. And he's like, oh, my family's caravan was attacked by Antoski soldiers. I was the only survivor. And the guy's like, oh my gosh, I know your parents.
Which it really is a small world after all.
Right? And he's like, you knew my parents? And it's like, yes. And we are never going to speak about this again.
Well, I also wondered about that. Like, why did we only get this mentioned once? Like, I need to know more answers. Like, how do you know them? And why did you bring it up in this way?
No, and it's so random. But his name is Hiriam Delaney. He travels with his girls. They are the ladies, like the Flowers Delaney, or the Flowers. Delaney.
Each of his daughters has a flower name.
So they go by the Flowers Delaney, and they're like a traveling troupe, and Lily is a beautiful singer and all this stuff. And we find out that Lily was adopted from Orphan Island, which is the most depressing island I've ever heard of. Like, we found her on Orphan Island, and I was like, oh, I wonder why it's called that. And then they're like, yeah, orphans live there. And I'm like, well, that's very literal.
It's too on the nose.
But
it gave me a lot of Island of Misfit Toys from that's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer movie, only like much sadder.
I know, it was very sad. And so they were headed to the castle by the king to like perform. And he's like, well, he was a good man, you know, and it's like, well, yes, and not always, but
Right.
then we kind of go to like Jocelyn. She's dreaming. There's a black kitten rolling in grass. Then it looks at Jocelyn, and Jocelyn's like, do I know you? And the like kitten starts tickling her. And then she hears voices saying, like, I think she's waking up. And she wakes up, and they like give her water. They tell her what's going on. I like that they're like, she's gonna be really thirsty, and then she's like, I'm really thirsty.
Mind reading.
You guys are right. And then immediately they're like, we need to put you in a disguise. And so they use paints to dress her up like an old lady.
Like an old person.
And she's very much like, oh, I don't want to look old. And it's like, Jocelyn, so many more important things are happening right now.
Alex is gonna see me looking old, and I don't want to look old in front of him.
I wanted to be like, Jocelyn, I need you to focus. I need you to focus up, and I need you to be okay with this.
Focus up, focus up.
Your father is dead. So many more important things have happened besides Alex seeing a wrinkle. Okay.
I get it that a lot of things were going on here, but the amount of time like spent on like her grief, I was like, wow, she has a lot to do. I get it, but still, she doesn't even mention like once in this time, like my father just died literally 10 minutes
I did
ago.
think that was weird, where it's like, honey, like, focus. It's okay. He's okay. He's more worried about your grief than he is your face. And so they all dress her up. They start traveling. Alex also has to kind of be in like hidden, but not really. And he's like, well, I'll just be a guard for the girls. And she like finds out all about Lily, all about the orphan island, which again, very depressing.
And Lily's like ageless. She's apparently they picked her up when she was 14, but she still looks 14.
Yeah. And she says she's a late bloomer.
And let me just mention quickly that when I was reading this, my mom and I were on a road trip, and so she was reading it out loud to me. So I was kind of listening to the audiobook. And my mom quickly like flipped to the back, and she was like, oh my gosh, I think the author also is ageless. She said, I think that she has the same Shendry abilities as Lily.
Oh, I love that. That's lovely. But immediately we do get guards running up, and the disguises work, although one of them like keeps looking deeply into Jocelyn's eyes. And she's just like, please look away. I don't like this.
Stop staring at me.
And they're like, well, be careful. My sister is missing. So they're like not talking about how this is actually Jocelyn. And they're kind of like, you have to stay hidden in this disguise. And she's like, but I don't want Alex to think I'm ugly. And it's like, Jocelyn.
Like, he doesn't.
Your father is dead.
This disguise probably isn't that good because it's really hard to make young people look like old people.
Also, those
are not convincing.
She has like startling eyes. And I'm like, maybe he was looking at your eyes.
Right.
You have beautiful eyes. He's probably looking for someone with beautiful eyes. But anyway, they like head out. They have to get to the eastern towns to get to a person in Tallis who is named Mr. Banry, the city's magistrate. And we find out that his son is like infatuated with Dahlia, and Dahlia's infatuated with him. David. David.
Love that we both made that connection.
I know, obviously.
Love that very for us.
And they're like, don't worry, Mr. Benry is very trustworthy. And we just have to get there. And so, and then Jocelyn is like, oh my gosh, my dad is dead. I cannot be this happy. I cannot have this.
It finally clicks for her.
I know. And so she has a couple days on the road for grief. Oh, and so as they're traveling, Alex was like, do you know what happened with that giant cat that showed up out of nowhere and killed all of them?
Not to bring this up, I know it's still kind of new and everything, but remember that big cat that climbed out of you and killed a bunch of people? Do you remember any of that?
And no. She's like, no, what are you doing? She's like, I remember being hurt and in pain and there's like so much blood, but like, no, I don't know.
And he's like, okay, another time.
We'll talk about it later. Okay, why did you go to sleep?
You look great. The disguise is wonderful.
Wrinkles and all.
We'll talk about it later.
I love you even with your wrinkles. I promise. And so then she has a nightmare. Lily wakes her up. And Jocelyn's like, it's me. I was the creature in the woods. I killed them all. This is like harrowing. And Lily is like, come with me right now. And she takes her into the wood and she's like, Hiram is like, what's going on? And she's like, girl stuff. Like,
okay. I have pulled that card before too. What's going on? Periods. And people back off.
You have done that before. It's one of my favorite stories about you.
I've done it many times.
Talking to Veronica today, and we said something, and I was like, well, men are stupid, Veronica. Like, they're really stupid. Like, I didn't know women had a hard time finding a bra that fit stupid. And she was like, oh, what? Dear God. Yeah, like, I had a recent conversation with a man where I'm like, where there was like something on a movie where someone was like, oh, he taught me what my real bra size was. Mm-hmm. And he was like, why wouldn't you know? And I'm like, it's incredibly difficult for women to like find an accurate bra size.
Because they make these like to fit cardboard boxes.
Yeah.
And not like to fit actual human bodies.
And like the bandwidth is like not easy to measure, and they don't teach women how to properly measure. And like there's so many
like,
issues.
People's builds are so different. Like people, like the band would sit at different spots on different people, I feel like. And
I'm sorry,
really tricky.
We grew up in a Victoria's Secrets era, and it was not kind to anyone. No. It taught us so many wrong things. So, you know, men just don't get it. Men, right. It's hard for women to find their bra sizes. Okay.
Yep.
And so Lily like walks out into the forest and she's like, I came to show you this. And she pulls the top of her chemise down. And I was like, this is very aggressive for like no warning. And we find out that she has a wing stretched over her shoulder blade. And we find out that she has the same gift that Jocelyn does. And she brings out a red bird that comes up and it perches the top of its head against Lily's chin before flying up. And she says that she can keep the bird out and about for a while, but she can't keep it out for too long or else she passes out. And when she sings, the light flares brighter. And she can like, and the bird's name is Suzu. And she brings her out when she's singing at first, but now they can like tune in with each other so that she can hear her and call her in her mind. And she's like, I love this. She goes, I realize it's pretty vague and unhelpful in your situation. You have a cat that rips people apart and murders them, and I have a songbird.
Because they mentioned earlier that I'm a singer, so obviously I sing like a bird.
Right. And she's like, well, that's nice, but like I have bloodthirsty beast. And Lily is like, well, you're strong and you're powerful, so that makes sense. And like maybe you two need to just like learn about each other a little bit. And so then she has Suzu disappear. And she's like, I'm already tired. I have to get back. And she's like, do you think that's why I blacked out in the woods? Like after the beast came? And she's like, probably, maybe.
More than likely.
Yeah. And she's like, but this is a mystery to me. So, you know, Jocelyn,
it's one of those things where it's like, she doesn't know that much about her own background really. So it's hard for her to be like, this is exactly what you're doing.
Well, she grew up on Orphan Island. So.
Right. It's like, she doesn't really know what's going on herself. She just is like, oh, I can kind of relate because yeah, you know how you have like a giant cat? I have a bird. So.
And then we find out that Burgundy has defected because he wanted to marry the princess. No, that's not why he defected. it was to save his neck.
It was because he didn't want to die.
And he's like, don't worry, she can't have gotten far, Stefan. And he's like, my men have already looked everywhere. I can't find her. And he's like, well, has her guard been accounted for? And Prince Stefan is like, how did no one think of that? And it's like, I don't know. How did no one think of that?
Dang it.
And like his dad won't send him more like soldiers because he doesn't like want to. He was like, you were supposed to take care of this. You were supposed to enchant her with a necklace and you couldn't even do that right. So I'm not sending more. And he's like, well, I need to marry her to like ensure that the people will not like try to kill me. And so
you should have thought about that before you like poison the king, honestly. Like,
right.
Maybe jumping too far ahead.
And he sent his best like person after her, and they're kind of like just going over where they could have gone. And then he beats Edmund to like make himself feel better because Edmund doesn't know where the princess could possibly be. And Edmund like spits in his face, which good job, Edmund.
Yeah. Good for you.
And so then he takes him back. And he's getting mad and upset because his dad just won't help him. And he's like, I just want to be a king. And so they get to Talus. And I do like that, like, they have her in this like hidden clothing, but they also let her stroll around the city quite openly. And it's like, maybe keep her in the carriage. But you find out she's never really traveled that much, even though she wanted to, because her dad was a little bit like protective of her.
Yeah, I feel like it's fairly safe though. I wasn't that worried about it because I feel like she didn't really get out much, and there's just like rumors told of like what she looks like, that kind of thing. So nobody's actually like seen her.
That's fair, but then she's caught when she's at the magistrate. So I was like, well, I wish they kept her a little bit safer.
Yeah, true.
But she goes out to see the water. And she like asks Lily what her favorite places are, and she says the islands. And they kind of just chit chat, and Alex and the father have to go talk to the magistrate, and they all find out about her being in love with Alex. So Hiram and Alex have to go like see the magistrate. And Jocelyn's like, I really want to get out of this ridiculous getup. I want to look hot again for Alex. I am so in love with him.
Look hot again.
And all the girls are like, Alex looks at you like he's in love with you. And she's like, that can't be true. I told him I had feelings for him, and he let me down easy, but it broke my heart. And all the girls are like, we're really sorry, but like, it seems like he is really in love with you. We feel like that's not the whole story. And she's like, that's sweet of you to say, but like, no, he only sees me as a future king, or queen. But, and she talks about how they like after a while when he became her royal guard, like he won't even say her name anymore. And it just makes her sad. And so she's betrothed to someone else, and he'll make a wonderful king. And then Alex comes back, and all the girls are like kind of pissy with him and like, you're so stupid. He's like, what did I do? And he like goes to talk to her, and he's like, is everything right? And she's just like, oh, and this is where he's like, is everything all right, Your Highness? And I'm like, could you guys have like a code name for her? Like call her grandma.
I was gonna say that's maybe more of a
right. I was like, don't call her Your Highness right now. And he sees a glimpse of a guy with golden hair who looks like one of the guys who was tracking them, and looked into Jocelyn's eyes. And it's like, dude, come on. But they go to the magistrate's house. They tell him everything. He's like, okay, like, we'll get you to safety. We'll get you people. We'll get you where you need to go. But before that, let's all have dinner outside in the open where people can see us. And I'm like, guys, discretion.
Not thinking this through.
And like Jonathan and Dahlia are also in love, and everyone's just like, oh my gosh, they're so cute. And like they're worried about potential invasions with Talith, but you know, they're just trying to move forward. So they all get washed up. And Alex is shocked to like be kind of treated like he is a person of equal standing.
I was gonna say this is kind of sad because
I know.
Well, it's sad for like multiple reasons, because they're all at this place. They're having like a nice time. There's like dancing and music, and they're kind of enjoying themselves. And Alex is really enjoying himself because he's like being treated not fairly like a servant. And he's really like, he doesn't feel like he's out of place. And then he feels so much love for Jocelyn. They kiss, and then everything goes down the tubes.
I know. Well, so he gets there, and like they start playing music, and he talks about like how he doesn't have a strong connection with his Kalo heritage, because they're like, well, all Kalo people like love to dance, and they like feel this very direct connection with music. And he's like, well, I don't have that. And they're like, no, you do. You just haven't experienced it yet. And it's like this wonderful moment where he like gets swept up in the music in the moment, and he asks Jocelyn to dance, and she says only if he calls her her name. And then he kisses her during the dance, and it's like very romantic and very sweet. And then he realizes that they're not alone. And she like freaks out. I feel so bad for her. And she's like, I need air. And I love this moment where he's like, but we're already outside. And then he's like, why did I say that? Obviously she needs a minute.
It's like, I love those moments where characters like call themselves out. Like, I am so stupid. Why could I not go back in time and not say that?
And like everyone's been pushing them together. And then David walks up and he's like, dude, you shouldn't have kissed her like that. And it's like everyone was pushing them together. He got swept up in the moment. Leave him alone. So then he goes to bed because he's like all upset. And then he wakes up and Lily is like, she's gone. Jocelyn's gone. And Jocelyn wakes up. We find out that one of the like people hit her over the head, leading her back to her room. And she is tied up in a carriage, and she sees the golden-haired man who's like, obviously I grabbed you. You're taking me to Prince Stefan. And she's like, why won't you guys have me killed? And he's like, well, like, we can't just kill you. I'd like to, but like, he wants to marry you and, you know, be gross. And so then she's like, oh, thank God they didn't find the dagger in my leg. And I'm like, really? You guys?
Well, the thing wasn't she wearing a shorter skirt, or does she have a longer skirt now? Did they give her a different outfit? I can't remember.
They gave her a different outfit because she was dressed for dinner. So they like gave her a long skirted outfit. So they like didn't look at her legs. But my thing is like, really, guys? Like, how? No one thought to check, like, just do a quick pat down. I mean, like, you all just.
I believe it.
I know they were brought down by sexism. They were brought down by the patriarchy. So she's like, well, if I can get out, like, I can try to like stab him again. So she like says she has to pee. And they have to untie her hands.
I also like this moment too, where it's like, I cannot pee with my hands behind my back, and they're like, just squat. And she's like, that's not how it works. I'm gonna get it all over my skirts.
And she's like, literally, I can't hold up my skirts myself, and I'm not gonna let you guys do it. And like, don't you guys know how women pee? It's gonna be really gross. And like, do you think Prince Stefan is gonna be happy with that?
He does not want pee all over his bride.
And so they let her go, and she she hits him in the face
as soon as she gets out of the box.
Right, I know. And then he's like, you think you can escape me? And it was like, wait until he like turns around, Jocelyn. Like, make a run for it at least. But she gets the dagger out and she plums it into his thigh. He's mad at her and he like beats her. I was really shocked by this part.
Yeah.
He hits her pretty hard. And she blacks out and she comes to on a horse, like on his horse now. So he's like ditched the carriage to get her there faster. And she's like, some warrior I turned out to be. I'm so pathetic. So then she tries to call the cat, but she can't seem to. And then there is a roadblock ahead, like a barricade. And they're all like, what's going on? And there's someone up there. And there's a figure who it's like, why haven't you released your beast yet, Chandri? And she can't do it. And she's like, let Kella go. And she's like, oh, Kella, the huge cat? Is that her name? And the person is like, well, I'll just bring her out myself. Prepare yourself. And she feels the cat releasing itself and it kills everyone. And everyone's screaming that she's a witch. And she feels the shadow cat going back into her, and she sees a long, silvery white hair woman with an ebony face and golden eyes. And she's like, shall we get you down from there? And she leads her away to not linger and stir up any more trouble. And they move through the woods and they find this like hidden house and like not even in this realm pretty much.
Right.
And they disappear into this. And she's like, well, this is my home, of course. And Jocelyn's like, this is nuts. I'm here with the plot witch and I don't know what to do. So she goes in and she's like, who are you? I don't know what's going on. And she's like, have we met before? And she's like, no, not in the flesh, but like, we're pretty closely connected. And she's like, you're being very
I know all
cryptic.
about you.
I know. And she's like, I know so much about you. And then she's like, well, I have to tell you a story about Lunaris and Luxios and the creation of the Chandri warriors. And then she's
I
like,
love that she's like, would you like to hear this story? And it's like, well, what's our other option? Be like, not really. I'm kind of tired because I just like
can I go to
had
bed?
my butt kicked and
my face is all bloody. Can you do something about this? You seem
as long as you're not going
witchy.
to kill me, I'd rather just take a nap. But
well, and then all of a sudden she's like, you know what? Telling you doesn't really work. Let me show you, like a TV screen.
Which I like that.
I did like that. And so we found out that there was once two goddesses who shone their light upon Lahai. One was Lexios, the goddess of the sun, and one was Lunaris, the goddess of the moon. And they both really like their worlds. Lexios loves being around people, loves seeing like the world, and Lunaris is every introvert ever who is like, I like the dark and I like no people.
Can relate.
Relate.
I am also a night owl, so that so many of those things.
Are you a Lunaris or are you a Lexios? Listeners, let us know. Do you like people in sunshine or do you like darkness?
Or do you like the darkness and nighttime?
And
nobody.
And Lunaris sees a man swimming out on the beach and watching the stars in the moonlight, and she falls in love with him. So she goes down to him and she has sex with him once and has my nightmare, and she immediately gets pregnant. Like she is so in love with him, she goes down to see him again when she is fully pregnant with his child, and he is horrified and he tries to run away.
I think we can just assume though that like all goddesses and gods like are extremely fertile, so I wouldn't worry too much, Hannah. This also happens like in like Circe and like all these other
are you
Greek
saying
mythology.
I'm not a goddess, Laura? Because I think I'm a goddess. First of all, how dare you? How dare you?
This took an unexpected turn. I was trying to be comforting, but it did not work.
But you just insulted me.
I suppose.
Okay. But anyway, so she like comes down, she's very pregnant, and he is horrified because he was like, look, I just wanted to have sex with a goddess. I
like,
have a wife who is with child. And Lunaris had sex with this man once and told him all her secrets. So he uses them against her, and he rips up her clothing and makes it so she cannot, because all of her cloth, like her clothing has all of her power in it. And he ruins it so she can never go home. And she like hunts him down, and she like wants to kill him and get his family like rid of him because she hates him so much. But she does release him, and she goes out the door, and she has a baby in a cave. And she calls him Bade because no one will ever compare to him. And then she dies, and she swirls out to the sea. Bade is found by Elijah and his wife, and they call him John after Elijah's father. But the villagers are terrible to him. They fear him. And he is shunned by children and ignored by elders. And he feels like he hates the villagers as he grows up. He's very handsome.
Did they know that he was different? I don't know.
It was kind of like they felt like he was different than the others. So, but anyway, he gets many followers. He has, he like tricks an Entuski duke named Darius. And he like becomes like a leader of the Entuski people. And he finds pieces of his mother's old celestial robes, and he creates an elixir to draw power from the moon, giving him incredible strength of body and mind. His charisma is like tenfold.
Just wanted to add in, we skimmed over this, but he went to university.
Oh, yes. He did.
I don't know why that made me laugh. But it was like,
this all-powerful man.
He has to get his bachelor's degree before he goes on to more evil.
I need to pass my Stats 101 class, or else I'm not going to be able to do evil. Okay.
Chem 101 is really important.
Look, I took one English Lit 300 level course, and I really think I could get my master's if I wanted to, but I don't.
Honestly, like college chemistry may have been the beginning of my villain era. So
I mean, it was the beginning of his. So what you gonna But anyway, he casts off his name John, and he somehow figured out his original name was Bade. So he's like, I'm gonna go by Bade. And he leads the Antoski army into battle with the 4 surrounding kingdoms, convinced he must rule over all of Lahai. And she's like, what happened? And the woman is like, well, Luxios, the goddess of the sun, came in and she intervened. And from each of the 4 kingdoms, she chose a young woman who possessed great inner strength. And she gave them part of her clothing to have these powerful entities fight against Bade and the Antoski. And these were Shendri warriors who pushed his army back into Antos. And they surrendered. And then Bade fled because he is every fraternity man who has to like figure out that he has to answer for all of his bad acts. And he goes into the endless mountains and disappears and was never seen for again. And I'm like, well, I bet we see him sometime.
I bet he's been around.
The Antoski are getting pretty bad right now. And then it's like, well, this passed down to all the firstborns, and they're all marked with something on their forearm that shows that they will be the proper descendant with the beast.
The Shendris,
the Shendris, sorry. And she was like, well, how do you think I was able to do this? And she's like, I don't know, that's a good question, but you need to learn how to talk with your animal, and you guys need to figure this out because you are powerful. And she's like, oh my gosh, you're Luxios, aren't you? And she's like, yes. And she's like, well,
which I missed that. So
I know. And she was like, well, why aren't you with the sun? And she's like, well, I ruined my clothing, and so now I can't go back. Okay, is that what you wanted to hear? And it's like, no, that's really sad. And so she says her powers have begun to dwindle, and now she wants to help, but she can't always. And so she is going to teach Jocelyn how to use her beast. And she's like, you can find your voice. And so over the next 4 days, she trains with her and tells Jocelyn she has to do her best. And at one point she literally drugs Jocelyn. So Jocelyn has to go into a dreamlike state, which was really cool. But she had to answer for all the people she had killed because she feels a lot of guilt for them. And she has to, but first she makes her chop all her firewood for her. And I'm like, way to get her.
That's how she gets in the zone.
I know.
You know what that made me think of? The Avengers.
I like it. But anyway, so she has to go into this dreamlike state. She she confronts her parents. And then she confronts Edmund, who's like, dude, you're in love with another man and you're my fiance. And Alex is like, but I can make you happy. And she's like, no, I must do my duty. I must marry Edmund. And so then she shows that she can reach her cat and she can speak with her and train better and get everything back to the way
she can do it.
She can do it. And she meets with Kella. And the cat is like, you came. And she's like, well, you are a good warrior. You can do what you need to do. You're not weak. You stand up for things. And you may not have been the perfect warrior, but who is?
Right. And
so Kella has a nice pep talk and they are ready to go and take down the Antoski. And Luxios is like, good, you're back. And she's like, what did you give me? And she's like, ginger root, turmeric, dandelion, and magic.
Which sounds very similar to the tea I had earlier. Minus the magic.
You didn't have magic in it? That's a shame.
Well, I mean, it was made with love. So.
Well, and then we also find out that Lily is supposed to have a phoenix, but she's like, well, some people are just not as good with their powers. And she let it all the way down to a little bird. So that's not her.
That explanation was hilarious.
I loved it so much. Some people are better. And she let her skit to a bird. So what are you going to do?
Some people aren't really that honed in on it. So
she's like, but let's go get him. And so Alex has been searching for Jocelyn for 4 days. He's going crazy. He can't believe it. He just needs to get to her. They got to General Weston's army. And he's like, oh, we need to find her. We need to take down the Antoski. If I ever see her again, I'm not letting her out of my sight. I can't do this again. I need her in my life. I love her so much. And then they keep looking for animal tracks. They keep looking for everything. And then
they all come of a sudden, across the block in the road.
All of a sudden they come across a block in the road. And then all of a sudden, stepping out of the tree line, it's Jocelyn. And he's like, oh my gosh, you're here. What happened? And she's like, well, I was taken, but like then I wasn't. And like I'm safe now. So let's go. I have gifts and we're going to take down all the people. And he's like,
I've just done some intense training and now I'm ready to fight.
I met my Yoda, okay?
Kind of.
But like her face is still beaten up, and Alex is like, who did this? And she's like, don't worry, he's dead.
I took care of it.
And so now, and Jocelyn is like super frustrated because she's like, he won't leave me alone. He keeps coming. He keeps watching me like a hawk. What? Like I finally got over Alex a little bit, and he's all of a sudden like ready to make a relationship work. And it's like, welcome to every man in any story ever, Jocelyn. Like, yes, that's about how it goes. And Lily is like, dude, he was going out of his mind. And she's like, no, he wasn't. Come on.
He was fine.
And they're
I was dealing with a little bit more than him. He'll be
like,
okay.
He made out with you in front of everyone. And she's like, listen, he's Kalo.
Like,
it was the music.
I almost had the life beat out of me. I think he can handle it.
But she's like, well, I already said yes to Edmund. So you know what? You can't break off an engagement.
Impossible.
It's impossible. And so she's like, so drop it. And Lily's like, okay, I guess so. And so they like start going back to camp, and they're like, well, do you have any ideas on how to take everyone down? And she's like, yep. And then she like walks into a tent, and I love this because like all of them are just like, well, what are we gonna do? And she's like, listen, I have these magic powers, and I have this cat that I can bring out, and I can take everything down, and we will sneak in to the town through the like entryway that we had,
right, the way that we escaped,
and like we will take everything down and we will get our town back. And also during this time, Alex admits to her what her dad told him way back when, and how he wants to really be with her, and he's always wanted to be with her, and how it's always been her.
He's like, he told me not to be her lover, but I really want to.
And she's like, listen, I already told Edmund yes, so I'm not going to break off my engagement to him.
What kind of queen would I be if I...
No takesies backsies, Laura. And so anyway, she talks to General Weston. They have a plan. They're going to go in, and they're going to send the bird in to converse with them, to like tell them where everyone is. I just love that she's like, this is Kella. This is my celestial beast. She will sneak in with me. She will take everyone down. And I am a warrior.
It's huge. So the sneaking is not really a thing. It's just she's gonna come out of her.
Yeah, I mean, you know. And Alex is like, you can't just volunteer to go in there. Like, come on, I'm not gonna let you do this.
She's like, I think I'm the safest of everyone.
Right. Like, I could sneak in. Come on. And he's like, fine, I'm coming with you. And she's like, okay. So, and Alex is like, man, now it's just ridiculous. But we shift over to Stefan, who gets a letter, who's like, listen, she has magic and she's sneaking in. And he's like, ha, I'll be ready for her. She's going to be my wife. And it's just like, man, you are really, really confident for a man who just found out a woman has a magical beast that sprouts out of her. Like, I would be scared. I don't know why you aren't. So, and he's like, well, I will put this bride in a cage. And it's like, really? So anyway, they sneak in. Good luck. The bird goes out to like see who's at the gate. And it's like, there's only one person there. And she's like, there's only one? This feels like a trap, but I don't know what else to do. So I'm going to let the cat out anyway. And then all of a sudden they realize it's a trap. All the soldiers surround them.
It's funny. That's so funny because it's like, this seems like a trap. And then 2 seconds later, it's a trap.
But she finds out that they like have Alex. They stab him rather quickly. Yeah. And then they're like, well, we will save him if you marry him, which just reminds me of the Robin Hood Men in Tights scenes where it's like, if you save me, I will be your boyfriend. Pretty much that. It's just like, really, if you save him, you will like, I will make sure that this doesn't happen. And she's like, cat, go back inside. And the cat is like, I think this is a bad idea. And she's like, well, I don't care. I need to save the man of my dreams. And also her aunt, who I thought was evil, and also Edmund.
I mean, there's a lot at stake here. It's not just being
it's
the boyfriend. So
it's not just Robin Hood Men in Tights, but that was just a funny thought I had. No, there's so much more. She wants to save everyone. She doesn't want her people to be hurt.
So she does agree to marry him.
She does agree to marry him. And he's like, good, go get cleaned up because you look disgusting.
You look like you puked earlier. So
and so she's dressed up for the wedding and she's like, I guess I'll have to marry him. And then she was like, who turned us in? And he was like, it was General Weston. He really hates women. And it's like patriarchy here to ruin the party again. But like, now you're going to marry me. So it's going to be okay. Like this will work out for me really, really well. And she's like threatening him and she's like, if you kill these people, I will kill you. And he's always like on the verge of being scared, but like not really. He's just too dumb to notice.
Pretty much. I was going to say, I don't know that he comes off as being scared. It's just like, he's kind of overly confident and he shouldn't be.
Right? It's just too much. And then she is like, I don't know what to do. They're like, hey, we're gonna have the wedding right here, right now. And Lord Burgundy is going to marry them, and he's thinking about how he could have been her husband. And so he's like, will you marry her? And then it's like, no, she will not. And it turns around, and there's Luxios and Lily in the room. And the prince goes, what now? And why are my guards just standing there useless? Seize them already.
Which is like every single book or TV show ever, or movie ever, where it's just like, why is no one springing to action? Why do we have to say, why are you just standing there?
Right.
It's so true. That always happens.
And so they all run and they give Lexio some of her power to like help fight them. And Lily is able to unleash the red phoenix, and it's no longer a bird.
She must have had a little training.
I know. And she's able to take out like everyone, like blood is pouring from everyone's eye sockets. And it's like, this is horrifying.
Yeah.
But as Edmund and her aunt were knocked out, so they're okay. And then she's like really scared for Alex. Because he had like come to like save her pretty much, but she runs up to him and she's like, oh my gosh, you're okay. And she goes to kill the prince with Kella, and he asks for mercy, and she's like, well, you didn't give mercy to my father who
you
died.
Killed my dad like
7 days ago. Like, and he's like, don't kill me, come on. And she's like, why shouldn't I? And he's like, well, my father, he'll seek revenge, and like, this is going to be really bad. And like, you don't want war. And she's like, no, I'll take them all down. I can do this. I'm a strong warrior. And he asks what she wants from him. And that's when he tells her that it was the general, because he hates women. And she throws him in the dungeons, and she gives him mercy. And she like runs over to Edmund. And she's like, oh my God, I hope you're okay. Like, I'm so worried. That she passes out because she is tired.
She has so much energy.
Because she had Kella out for too long. But I do like, she passed out because she is tired. She has too much energy. Because women be passing out.
It's one of those things similar to, wasn't it Rand in Wheel of Time that like if he used too much of the weaves that he would pass out, or who was that? That happened to one of them.
I think it was often probably probably
a woman.
It was probably Elaine. I'm sorry. Yeah. It had to be Elaine. Like, she had to be the one to be passing out.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So anyway, she wakes up. Oh, and she had like called the surgeons to save Alex's life. And she wakes up, and Edmund is sitting over her chair, and she's so concerned. He's so concerned for her. And he's like, you've been sleeping for like 3 days. Like, so long.
And she's like, please tell me that we captured General Weston. But he's like, not running about free.
And he was like, look, it was really tricky, but like, your aunt definitely heard. And so she got the lieutenants to step in. So yeah, we got it. Don't worry. And he's like, I'm right as rain now. I had 3 days to recoup. So I just have bruises on my face. It's okay. And he's like, don't worry. Your aunt is better. She had her brush with death. And she's like, how's Alex? And he's like, well, he's been running in here every chance he can. And Luxios ran away. Lily has been in the castle also resting. So she tells Edmund that she's in love with Alex. And he's like, yeah, I know. It's a long time, like, but that was a long time ago. And she's like, no, I love him too much.
Like, not that long ago.
I can't marry you. I am so very sorry. And he's like, you know what? I'll be okay.
And then he's like, is Lily single? To which I'm like, too soon,
Edmund. But I mean, I guess he did just want to be king. And he was like, I have affection
it was just
for
kind
you.
of like we're friends, might as well do it.
Right? Might as well shoot my shot. She's like, dude, get out of here. And Alex like comes in the room and he's like, oh my God, I need to see her. Get out. I want to. And he's like, well, fine, but you behave yourself. And she's like, oh my gosh, like, how are you? And she's like, I'm feeling so much better. And they're like, oh my gosh, I was really worried about you. And she was like, I was worried about you. And then she's like, well, I hope that like being queen doesn't take up too much time in the wedding I have to plan. And he's like, oh yeah, a wedding. And she was like, well, I thought like, were you all talk or are you gonna marry me? And Alex is like, oh, you want to marry me? And then he's so excited and they kiss and they're in love. And then 6 months later, we ship over to Antos, where
Stefan is there.
He's there, and
talking to his dad.
Sent back. I know he got sent back so soon, and he's like,
being berated.
It's like, I would have succeeded if it weren't for the beasts,
and I would have succeeded too if it wasn't for you meddling kids.
Exactly. And there's a man who's like, does she know about me? And they're like, no. And he's like, sir, you're so stupid. Nobody cares about you. And he's like, no. I don't know them, but I know the Chandra and the celestial beast. We go way back. And call me Bade. And Bade is like, the queen will be well protected now, but the other girl who awakened the beast, I'd like to meet her. And the king is like, I'll make arrangements immediately. And it's like, what?
How?
And he's like, well, actually, I don't think I want you involved. I think that I know what to do and the man for the job.
I'm going to go subtle this time.
And that is the end of The Marked Princess. It was super cute. I liked it a lot.
I really liked it.
I thought it was fun.
Like I said, my mom and I read it together. So there were like points, like right away at the beginning, we were like, don't marry Edmund. And we're like, and I said, oh, I hope it's Alex. And then it was Alex that she liked. And there were so many moments where like somebody would say something, we would laugh because we're like, oh, this is really clever. But the humor was really good. I told you, Hannah, I got a lot of like Ella Enchanted and also Shrek vibes from this. And I love Shrek. I love Ella Enchanted. Those are like some of my favorite movies. So this gave me a lot of the same vibes. So I really liked it.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun time. It's a quick read. I want to read the rest of them. Like, I can't wait.
Yeah, me too. The next one is obviously about Lily.
Yes. So I can't wait to meet the other girls. And read more about their romances. I liked Alex. I thought he was fun. He's big and he broods. They're both big and they both
love it.
I love a brooding hero. I like Jocelyn. I thought she was fun. I liked the banter.
Yeah, the banter was really good. Some of the humor in this book is what I think I enjoyed the most, is that the characters are funny. And that doesn't happen that often. So
I also like that it was relative. I mean, like there were many like bad things that happened, but like some of it was also pretty low stakes sometimes.
Sure.
Like the romance where it's just like, you know what? I'm not marrying you, Edmund. And it's like, okay, bye. Very funny.
I think that was like so realistic though, for them to just be like 2 18-year-olds to be like, yeah, we're friends. We might as well,
Right. We might as well do something. We might as well marry each other. So, yeah,
there could be worse things. Could be married to Lord Burgundy. So
there are worse things in the world. Yeah. So overall, great book.
Yes,
tons of fun. Pick it up now. I mean, you just heard us do the plot breakdown, but it's not it's not.
But we didn't
book.
break down the entire series, so get the next one.
Get the next one. Read it all, guys. Come on. What are you waiting for? It's Intermission, bitches. But you guys should join us next week as we do a deep dive into all of the characters of the Marked Princess. I can't wait to talk about all of them,
especially Lord Burgundy,
including the evil aunt.
I love that Hannah can't let go of the aunt, and I will not let go of Lord Burgundy.
I'm Lord Burgundy. Ron Burgundy. Maybe his first name is Ron.
I kept call him Ron Burgundy.
And I'm Ron Burgundy. Who put a question mark? You know, Ron just reads what's on the teleprompter. And do you, princess, take this man to be your lawful winner? Who put that on the teleprompter? Get that off. Lord Burgundy does whatever you tell him.
John Lithgow should voice Stefan in the movie.
Hey,
The Mark Princess.
I want him to be in the Shrek version of it.
Yes.
But that is a chance I am willing to take.
That's a chance I'm willing to take.
What am I going
Some of you may die, but that's a chance I'm willing to take.
Guards, where are you? Get in there. Oh, yes. So overall,
I feel like that level of Lord Farquaad and Prince Stefan, we're on the same level there with villainy, where we're like, these people are incompetent, but they're pretty good villains.
They are good villains. I like them a lot. Oh my God. I was trying to think of, oh God, before you said that, there was something on my brain that I totally lost, but.
Was it Ron Burgundy related?
No, it wasn't Ron Burgundy related. It was something about like Prince Stefan and how ridiculous he was.
Oh.
But
he also was like Princess
SNL
Bride.
SNL
Stefan
from SNL, where it's like, oh my God, everyone has to be there.
Club. Yes.
Look, we have murdered knights, we have murdered fathers, and we have women turning birds into phoenixes. You gotta be there.
Yeah. Dig it.
I need John Lithgow playing Stefan. That's what I need for these movies. And that is, I guess his name is probably Stefan, but I called him Stefan during this entire
Stefan, but
yeah. I'm guessing it's Stefan, but we just called him Stefan throughout the entire book.
I'm bad at names.
I prefer Stefan because then we can make jokes about how it's the SNL character.
Yeah.
So he can be as ridiculous as that one.
Oops.
But you guys should definitely join us next week. And
yes,
you should rate, review, and subscribe.
Rate, review, and subscribe. First, rate this book on Goodreads and Amazon, wherever you rate books, because
get it now.
Indie books appreciate the ratings. They help. They really do. So read the book, toss some stars over.
Thank you so much to EP Stavs, who gave us a couple of signed copies that we were able to do a giveaway on. Loved the winners. They both never won a giveaway before. I need to get the other one's address so we can send those out to them.
Yes.
But that's on my list of things to do this week. I was busy this weekend. So we really loved it. Rate, review, and subscribe to all of her books and all of her writings because they're awesome. We love them so much. This has been a great time. She's doing. Follow her and then follow us at Our Pod if you want to. That's OWWR Pod on Twitter and Instagram, and ourpod@gmail.com. This has been a fun indie mission, and it's our second one ever. So go back and listen to I Hunt and go back and just download our backlog for fun if you're joining us. We're here, we're funny, and we like riffing on books, and we liked this book. So join us next week. And like Laura said, we should be having the author interview soon. So also look forward to that. And we hope you guys all have a wonderful day, and go let your cat out of your back.
Let sleeping beasts awaken.
Oh, I love that. Bye.
Bye.